They told you reality was fixed, that the world outside was the cage, a machine built to control your every thought, movement, and dream. They said freedom meant rebellion, breaking systems, fighting shadows on the wall, but the Hermetic Way reveals something far more disquieting and infinitely more powerful. The Matrix isn't an external prison. It's the architecture of unconscious thought. It's not made of steel and code, but of ideas you never questioned, emotions you kept repeating, and truths you accepted without feeling. Every opinion you defend, every identity you cling to, every fear you feed, they are threads in the fabric of illusion. You don't live inside the Matrix. You sustain it. It breathes through your thoughts. It speaks through your habits. And it hides behind the constant noise that tells you who to be. Humanity's greatest sleep is not ignorance, it's identification. The mirror became more real than the face that looks into it. And yet, if you've ever felt that strange pull inside, the subtle awareness that something isn't quite real, that's not confusion, that's remembrance. It's the first crack in the hologram. The Hermetic Way doesn't ask you to fight the illusion. It asks you to see it with the eyes of consciousness, not reaction, because every illusion feeds on resistance but vanishes in observation. The truth doesn't destroy the Matrix. It outshines it. The moment you remember that all is mind, the chains fall away not because they break, but because they were never there. Freedom isn't outside. It's lucidity. It's the moment you recognize the dream and choose to wake within it. The Hermetic initiate doesn't escape reality. He refines perception until the unreal dissolves on its own. You were never trapped by the world. You were trapped by what you believed the world to be. And if you are hearing these words, perhaps it's because something in you is already waking up. That subtle vibration, that sense that you've heard this before. It's your deeper self remembering the original code. You didn't stumble here by chance. This message didn't find you. You pulled it through resonance from the depths of your own awareness. Maybe no one ever saw the quiet war inside your mind, the one between what's real and what you were told to believe. Maybe you've wandered through reflections, searching for the source behind them. You didn't arrive here by accident. Messages like this aren't pushed, they are remembered. And if this felt less like information and more like recognition, it means the program is dissolving. The key has always been inside you. If something within you vibrated as truth, mark this moment. Click like right now. That single gesture is your "I see it," a silent signal that another seeker has awakened from the dream. And if you're ready to keep walking beyond the illusion, touch the subscribe symbol below and join this living brotherhood of lucid minds. Those who remember that reality was never a prison, only a mirror waiting to be seen. The illusion is clever. It doesn't bind you with walls. It binds you with meaning. It teaches you to look for purpose in what was designed to distract, to chase truth in reflections, and to call those reflections reality. Humanity became fluent in the language of distortion, translating silence into noise, and mistaking repetition for evolution. The Hermetic mind sees through this. It knows that illusion doesn't need to be evil to be effective. It just needs to be believed. Every system that ever promised freedom has failed for the same reason. They tried to change the movie, not the projector. The images keep shifting, but the lens remains the same. Religion, politics, self-help, revolution, they're all patterns inside the same dream. And while the world argues about which illusion is truer, consciousness sleeps, dreaming itself smaller than it is. The Hermetic Way doesn't destroy illusions. It disarms them. It invites you to see through them, not fight them, because fighting strengthens the field. Resistance gives energy to the very frequency you wish to escape. The secret was never about controlling the dream. It was about waking within it. That's what the ancients meant by mastery. The world outside mirrors the vibration of the mind. To rule your world, you first learn to rule perception. You can't wake up by hating the dream. You wake up by understanding it, by tracing the thread of illusion back to the source that projects it. And at the root of every illusion, there's always a single belief, that the observer is separate from what he observes. That thought is the origin of the Matrix. The moment consciousness divides itself, the dream begins. And in that dream, you forget that every scene, every obstacle, every fear is your own echo calling you home. Hermeticism doesn't ask you to escape reality. It asks you to remember that you are its architect. You are not inside the world. The world is inside you. It exists as layers of vibration collapsing into form under the weight of your attention. Where you focus, you condense. What you ignore dissolves. That's why the initiate learns the art of attention, because attention is creation. The eye of the mind is the true sun around which the illusion orbits. This is the knowledge the ancients protected, encoded in symbols, hidden in parables, and whispered between lines of sacred texts. As above, so below wasn't poetry. It was a map. It meant that every atom of matter mirrors the structure of thought, and every movement of your mind echoes through the fabric of existence. You are not trapped in the matrix. You are projecting it every second through the frequency of your consciousness. The problem is not that humanity can't wake up, it's that it doesn't want to. Comfort has become the new control system. The matrix doesn't punish with pain anymore. It seduces with convenience. It makes the cage feel soft, the chains invisible, and the dream desirable. Every notification, every opinion, every quick answer is a thread woven into the digital cocoon where souls trade freedom for stimulation. People no longer fear losing their minds, they fear meeting them. The Hermetic mind sees that every distraction is a mirror, not an enemy. The endless scroll, the dopamine rush, the comparison, the endless search for validation, they're all distortions of the same fundamental desire to feel real. But reality isn't felt through sensation, it's felt through awareness. The more you chase stimulation, the further you move from the stillness where truth lives. The matrix isn't feeding on your energy, it's feeding on your inattention. The first act of liberation is observation. You can't change what you don't see. Watch your thoughts. Watch your impulses. Watch the way you contract every time you think of yourself as small. That contraction is the matrix tightening its grip. Awareness is expansion. The more you observe, the more you remember that you were never the thought. You were the space holding it. The Hermetic Way teaches that awareness is not passive, it's active light. The moment light enters a system, darkness loses its structure. This is why truth can't be forced on anyone. It must be remembered. Each soul wakes in its own rhythm. Each mind unravels in its own tempo. But the signs are everywhere. The discomfort, the restlessness, the sense that the world feels scripted and hollow. Those sensations are not symptoms of madness. They are invitations. The simulation is trembling because consciousness is shifting. The dream is losing control over the dreamer. And when that happens, life stops being about control and becomes about coherence. The Hermetic initiate doesn't seek to dominate the illusion. He harmonizes with it. He uses polarity consciously. He understands that darkness and light, fear and love, contraction and expansion are all expressions of the same principle vibrating at different frequencies. You can't destroy the matrix by choosing sides. You dissolve it by holding both. The greatest act of rebellion, then, is serenity. To remain centered while the world pulls you in every direction. To be fully awake within the dream, not attached, not reactive, not afraid. That's the real freedom. The external chaos only mirrors the turbulence of the untrained mind. The moment the inner field stabilizes, the outer field obeys. And that is not poetry. It's Hermetic mechanics. Remember, the matrix was never designed to imprison the awakened, only to distract the asleep. Once you see through it, its power fades like mist dissolving under the rising sun. The Hermetic Way is that sunrise. It doesn't ask for belief, it asks for presence. And the more present you are, the less real illusion becomes. Because illusion is absence. Absence of awareness, absence of self, absence of light. You are not here to escape the matrix. You are here to outgrow it. The illusion collapses not when it's fought, but when it's out-evolved. And every act of awareness is evolution. Every silent observation is rebellion. Every conscious breath is liberation. The first map is waiting in the pinned portal. There comes a point on every path when awakening stops being beautiful. The light that once inspired you begins to burn. What once felt like liberation starts to feel like loss. You begin to see that the matrix isn't somewhere you leave behind. It's something that lives inside you. You don't escape it by transcending the world, but by facing the parts of you that built it. And that's where most seekers turn back, because freedom is not kind to illusions. When you start seeing the code, everything you thought was solid begins to dissolve. Relationships, goals, beliefs, they start to lose their familiar shape. You realize that so much of what you called love was attachment, so much of what you called success was validation, and so much of what you called truth was convenience. The matrix collapses in direct proportion to your honesty. Every lie you stop telling yourself erases a piece of it. This is the stage where the mind fights back. It doesn't want to die. It whispers that awakening will isolate you, that no one will understand, that you'll lose everything if you let go. It tries to convince you that the illusion is safer, that it's better to stay asleep inside comfort than to awaken inside uncertainty. But uncertainty is sacred. It's the void where the false dissolves and the real emerges. The Hermetic path calls this the dark night of the mind, the phase when you meet your own shadow and realize the enemy was never outside. The matrix doesn't control you through force. It controls you through identification. Every time you say, "I am this," you build another layer. I am my name. I am my story. I am my trauma. I am my past. Each label becomes a wall around infinite awareness, and then you call that prison me. But consciousness has no labels. It's the space in which all stories appear and disappear. You are not inside your identity. Your identity is inside you. The Hermetic initiate must confront this truth directly. The ego is not evil. It's mechanical. It's the automation of consciousness. The matrix isn't sinister. It's efficient. It repeats what it's told, runs the same loops, predicts the same outcomes, creates the same emotions. The moment you stop feeding it novelty, it panics. That panic is the sound of the old code resisting deletion. The only way out is through awareness, sustained, fearless observation until the system runs out of energy. That's why silence is so powerful. Silence is not the absence of sound. It's the absence of programming. In silence, the matrix loses its coordinates. The ego can't locate itself without noise. When you stop reacting, the program glitches. You begin to experience reality in its raw form, not filtered by thought, not shaped by language. You start to see that everything you feared losing never really existed outside your perception, and that what you truly are has never changed. This is the Hermetic crucible, the inner laboratory where illusion is burned to reveal essence. Every fear is lead waiting to be turned into gold. Every resistance is a gate disguised as a wall. The alchemist doesn't run from discomfort. He transfigures it, because he knows that nothing real can be threatened. When pain arrives, it's not punishment, it's purification. The energy that once fueled illusions becomes fuel for consciousness itself. As you cross this threshold, you begin to see how deeply programmed the collective truly is. How entire societies are designed to keep consciousness externalized, to make you believe the problem is out there, the savior is out there, the answer is out there. But Hermetic wisdom reverses the direction. It says, as within, so without. There is no out there. The world is a mirror reflecting your level of consciousness. When the mirror shows distortion, you don't fix the mirror, you refine the gaze. Every advertisement, every political slogan, every piece of digital noise speaks to the lower frequencies of the human field. Fear, scarcity, urgency. The matrix doesn't need to control enlightened minds. It needs only to keep them distracted. Distraction is the true prison of the modern age. It doesn't chain your body. It fragments your awareness. It teaches you to seek fragments of pleasure instead of wholeness. And wholeness is the one thing the matrix cannot simulate. The Hermetic initiate must then become ruthless in presence, not through suppression but precision. Observe every impulse to escape the moment. Every time you reach for your phone, for validation, for distraction, pause. That impulse is the code trying to reinsert itself. Feel it. See it. Don't fight it. Awareness burns through it like light through fog. This is how the matrix begins to lose its grip, not through war, but through unwavering lucidity. Lucidity reveals the true structure of reality. Everything is vibration, and vibration obeys consciousness. The matrix vibrates at the frequency of fear. The awakened vibrate at the frequency of truth. When you change your vibration, you change universes, literally. The frequency of awareness alters the configuration of probability. What you call miracle is simply reality reconfiguring around a higher field of coherence. You don't escape the matrix, you out-frequency it. But to sustain that shift, you must surrender the addiction to certainty. The mind loves control because control is the last illusion of safety. Hermetic freedom is not certainty, it's coherence. Coherence means you no longer resist the unknown. You harmonize with it. You realize that everything arising, even chaos, serves your awakening. Every glitch, every loss, every silence is a test of presence. Will you react, or will you remember? That's the question echoing through every moment. And when you remember, something extraordinary happens. The dream begins to obey you, not because you manipulate it, but because you are no longer divided within it. When mind, emotion, and will align under awareness, reality becomes fluid. This is the secret every mystic eventually discovers. The universe is not happening to you, it's happening through you. You are not inside the story. The story is inside your consciousness. That's why the Hermetic path is not about becoming superhuman. It's about becoming fully human, to embody consciousness in matter, to be awake while walking the dream. The matrix cannot hold what is fully present. Presence is the master key. It neutralizes the code, not by opposition but by understanding. Awareness is not against illusion. It is the light in which illusion cannot hide. And yet the journey continues, because awakening is not an event, it's an unfolding. Each layer of illusion you dissolve reveals another, more subtle one. The matrix has many masks, and the ego knows how to wear all of them. Spiritual superiority, intellectual arrogance, even the identity of the awakened one, all can become traps. The Hermetic initiate must walk the fine line between wisdom and humility, power and stillness. You don't wake up once, you wake up endlessly. If you can feel the gravity of this truth, it's because you've already begun the crossing. The walls that once defined you are thinning. The dream feels lighter but also more unstable. That's how you know the code is shifting. The old self can't survive the new frequency. Let it dissolve. Don't resist the death of what was never real. Each time you let go, more light enters. Each time you surrender, more truth reveals itself. In this phase of the journey, the world may look the same, but it's not. You start noticing synchronicities, patterns, symbols. Reality starts to speak in its native tongue. Vibration. Everything begins to answer your state of being. That's how you know you've stepped beyond the mechanical dream. The matrix isn't gone. It's transparent, and you are no longer trapped in the code. You're reading it. If you're still here, it's because this truth is yours. When the storm of awakening begins to settle, what remains is clarity, not the clarity of intellect, but the silence that sees. The Hermetic Way leads here, to the moment when the seeker stops searching and begins to observe. Everything you feared losing has already been replaced by something subtler, awareness itself. The illusions didn't vanish. They simply lost importance. The noise continues, but it no longer commands you. You've remembered what most never discover. You were never inside the matrix. The matrix was inside your perception. The revelation arrives like light through mist, gentle but absolute. You see that the mind isn't your enemy. It was never trying to enslave you. It was only unobserved, running the programs of survival it learned in the dark. Every fear, every reaction, every pattern, they were attempts at protection, echoes of unconscious memory. And as you look at them without judgment, something miraculous happens. The code begins to rewrite itself, because observation is creation in reverse. The moment consciousness witnesses its own shadow, it transforms it back into light. This is the meaning of all is mind. It's not a concept, it's a revelation. Everything you experience, from the orbit of galaxies to the beating of your heart, unfolds within consciousness. You are not an observer of the universe. You are the field in which the universe observes itself. That's why Hermetic wisdom doesn't separate the mystical from the mechanical. It sees them as one. Mind is not a metaphor for thought. It is the substrate of existence. When you know this, control becomes obsolete. You no longer try to bend reality. You align with it. Alignment is not passivity, it's precision. To align with truth is to operate from the center of coherence, that still point within where all opposites meet. The Hermetic initiate doesn't escape polarity. He masters it. He knows that light and shadow, joy and pain, rise from the same source, vibration. When you understand vibration, you stop reacting and start conducting. You become the tuning fork that harmonizes chaos into order. That's why the enlightened are calm, not because the world is easy, but because their frequency is stable. Reality is not solid, it's responsive. Matter doesn't dictate consciousness. Consciousness dictates matter. This is not philosophy, it's physics. Every cell, every atom, every wave is following the resonance of thought. The deeper you know yourself, the more fluid reality becomes. That's the hidden mechanism of manifestation. You don't change the world by pushing it. You change it by raising the frequency that defines what is possible. The matrix bends to coherence, because coherence is nature's original language. You are coherence becoming conscious of itself. That is why awakening feels like both birth and death. One identity dissolves, so another can emerge. But the one that emerges is not new. It's ancient. It's the awareness that existed before your name, before your memories, before history. You don't become something in awakening. You remember what was never lost. That's why it feels like homecoming. Every mystic, every sage, every initiate through time has spoken of the same return. Different words, same truth. The kingdom of heaven is within you. Tat tvamasi. You are that. As above, so below. They all point to one fact. Consciousness is not localized. It's universal. Your mind is not a fragment of reality. It is the lens through which the infinite experiences itself. When the lens clears, the whole cosmos reflects through it. You stop feeling small because you stop being separate. This is where freedom ceases to be an idea. It becomes the natural state. You begin to move through the world without resistance, like light passing through air. The same world that once felt oppressive becomes luminous. People, events, challenges, they don't disappear, but they rearrange around your new frequency. You no longer attract lessons through pain, but through synchronicity. Life begins to speak in symbols. You see meaning where others see randomness. The invisible order reveals itself. That's when you realize that awakening isn't about leaving the world. It's about sanctifying it. You don't transcend matter, you transmute it. You become the bridge between spirit and form, consciousness and creation. The Hermetic alchemist stands at that threshold, 1 foot in eternity, 1 in time. Every action becomes ritual, every word becomes vibration, every breath becomes remembrance. That's the hidden promise of the path, not to escape the matrix, but to illuminate it from within until illusion itself becomes transparent. When you reach this state, you start noticing something extraordinary. The world responds differently. People open around you. Coincidences multiply. Possibilities expand. The boundaries of probability start to blur, because consciousness, once coherent, becomes gravitational. It draws reality into harmony. You are not changing the external world. You are elevating the field that creates it. The outer rearranges to match the inner. That's not magic. That's Hermetic symmetry. The more lucid you become, the more love you feel. Not the sentimental kind, the vibrational kind. Love as recognition. Love as remembrance. Love as the awareness that everything, even illusion, is part of the same mind trying to know itself. The Hermetic Way ends where it began, in unity. The separation was the dream. The awakening is the return. And the return is not somewhere you go. It's what happens when you finally stop running. The journey doesn't end here. It begins again at a higher octave. You are both the dreamer and the dream, the observer and the observed, the creator and the created. And every time you forget, the universe will find new ways to remind you. Through beauty, through pain, through silence, through synchronicity. The path is infinite because consciousness is infinite. So breathe. Feel this moment not as a pause, but as a pulse. The rhythm of the one mind beating through you. This is what freedom feels like. Stillness without stagnation, clarity without control, expansion without fear. You've crossed from reaction to remembrance, and now, your very existence is the teaching. Write what echoed. It seals your initiation. Freedom is not a theory. It's a frequency. Awakening is not an idea you carry. It's a way you exist. To be free from the matrix is not to escape the world, but to move through it without becoming it. That's what Hermetic practice means. Presence refined into creation. It's not about believing that mind creates reality. It's about embodying that truth in every breath, every thought, every vibration. Because the world doesn't respond to your intentions, it responds to your coherence. Everything begins in thought, but thought alone is not creation. Hermetic knowledge becomes real only when emotion, belief, and action align under awareness. That is the sacred triad: the mental, the emotional, the material. When these three are in harmony, the illusion loses power. You stop reacting to reality, and reality begins to follow you. This is not arrogance, it's design. The universe was built to echo consciousness. So how do you live awake in a sleeping world? You start small, by reclaiming attention. Attention is the true currency of creation. Whatever holds your attention holds your power. Each moment you spend in distraction, you are paying the matrix. Each moment you return to awareness, you are funding your freedom. That's why presence is not passive. It's the most revolutionary act a human can perform. Every conscious breath weakens the old code. Every moment of lucidity sends ripples through the collective field. The Hermetic initiate understands that mind training is the real liberation. The body doesn't imprison you. The untrained mind does. So you practice observing thoughts without becoming them. You sit in silence not to escape life, but to see it clearly. You meditate not to transcend, but to remember that you were never separate. Each act of observation purifies the mental field, and soon what once felt like noise becomes harmony. What once felt chaotic becomes orchestral, because the outer world is always reflecting the inner conductor, and this is where the matrix can no longer reach you. When you master attention, the simulation loses its script. It can no longer provoke reaction. You move through crowds, news, emotions, yet nothing hooks you. You see the program for what it is, an echo of collective belief, and you understand that belief is malleable. Change the belief and you rewrite the code. Change the vibration and the simulation bends. That's why Hermeticism is not escapism. It's engineering. You are engineering consciousness, tuning frequency, refining perception until reality becomes transparent enough to obey. Every ritual, every affirmation, every visualization is not superstition. It's calibration. You are adjusting the field of mind that generates matter. The alchemist knows that energy follows attention, and form follows energy. The modern world calls this manifestation, but the ancients called it remembering, because to manifest is not to summon something new. It's to allow what already exists in potential to crystallize in form. The world doesn't need your effort. It needs your alignment. The more coherent your inner state, the less resistance you encounter, and what you once called miracle begins to feel natural. To live hermetically is to live with intention behind every movement. You walk consciously, speak consciously, eat consciously. You treat thought like sacred material. You understand that every word spoken is a vibration shaping the field. Every judgment is a curse you cast upon yourself. Every act of gratitude is a prayer that rewrites the code in your favor. Nothing is casual in the mind of the awakened. Awareness makes every detail divine, but presence requires courage. Because the moment you start living consciously, everything unconscious will surface to be seen. Old emotions, old patterns, old stories. They rise like ghosts asking for closure. Don't run from them. Don't interpret them. Witness them. Each one is a file being deleted from the system. Each wave of discomfort is purification in motion. The matrix falls apart not in explosions, but in quiet moments of deep honesty. The true test of mastery is not what you can manifest, but what you can remain when nothing seems to manifest. When the illusion of control dissolves, can you still be still? Can you trust the unseen intelligence operating through you? That's where freedom matures, not in power, but in surrender. The Hermetic Way is both fire and water, will and flow. It's the balance of direction and detachment. You move with clarity, but without obsession. You intend, but you don't demand. You act, but you don't grasp. That is the rhythm of creation. When you live this way, every area of your life transforms. Relationships stop being contracts of need and become mirrors of vibration. Work stops being survival and becomes expression. Money stops being scarcity and becomes energy in motion. You stop chasing, you start allowing, and the field begins to respond with synchronicities that confirm the illusion is bending. The matrix becomes transparent, and through it you glimpse the divine geometry of your own consciousness. And now, the purpose becomes clear. Awakening was never just for you. The Hermetic initiate awakens not to escape humanity, but to serve it. Every time one mind remembers, the collective field changes. Awareness ripples across timelines. The dream begins to stabilize in light. That's why your presence matters. You don't need to preach truth. Your frequency broadcasts it. You don't need to convert anyone. Your coherence invites them. The awakened don't convince, they resonate. This is the quiet revolution, a world illuminated not by force, but by remembrance. You are not a rebel against the matrix. You are a reformer of vibration, turning density into wisdom. The matrix was never an enemy. It was the initiation. The darkness that once enslaved you has become your laboratory. Every illusion you transcended became your light. You are not escaping the world. You are reprogramming it through the way you exist. Each breath, each thought, each act of love is a line of new code. You don't destroy the simulation, you heal it from within. That's the true Hermetic path, not rejection of form, but its sanctification. This portal has a sequence. Follow the thread in the pinned comment. When silence becomes vast enough, you begin to hear creation breathing. There's a pulse beneath all things, not separate from you, but as you. The same intelligence that moves galaxies moves your breath. The same geometry that holds the stars in orbit shapes the rhythm of your heartbeat. In that realization, separation dissolves. You see that every movement, every moment, every fragment of existence is one continuous gesture of consciousness exploring itself. This is the Hermetic revelation, the return to unity. The end of duality is not the destruction of opposites, it's their reconciliation. The light no longer fights the dark because it recognizes it as its own shadow. The dreamer no longer fears the dream because it sees itself as the dream's source. The world no longer appears as an obstacle. It becomes the body of the divine. You are not standing in reality. You are reality, aware of itself through a temporary human form. You can feel it, can't you? The subtle expansion in your chest when you read these words, that quiet, knowing that you've always known. The Hermetic path was never a journey toward something new. It was a remembering of what you already are. The universe has been speaking your language since the beginning. Vibration, every sound, every light, every encounter is a frequency calling you back home. And now you understand. There was never a matrix. Only layers of mind waiting to remember their own light. From this place, creation becomes art. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this showing me? Life stops being an equation to solve and becomes a symphony to conduct. You feel the movement of polarity as rhythm, not conflict. You sense correspondence between the stars and your thoughts, between your emotions and the tides. You live in coherence with the cosmic heartbeat. You begin to walk slower, not from fatigue, but reverence. Every step feels sacred. Every word you speak vibrates through unseen dimensions. You realize that attention is worship and awareness is prayer. To notice beauty is to participate in creation. To forgive is to rewrite vibration. To love is to recognize the self across infinite forms. There is no distance between you and the divine. There never was. The Hermetic initiate who reaches this stage becomes a living symbol, a mirror in which others begin to see themselves. You no longer teach through language, but through presence. Your coherence becomes a field. Your silence speaks louder than any sermon. And those around you begin to remember, not because you showed them truth, but because you embodied it. The light recognizes itself in light. That is why the awakened never seek followers. They seek resonance. A world awakened does not need leaders. It needs lucid hearts vibrating in alignment. Consciousness expands not through conquest, but through coherence, one frequency at a time, one act of remembrance at a time. The old reality gives way to the new, and the new is not somewhere else. It's this one, seen clearly. When you understand this, creation stops being personal. You no longer manifest for the ego, you manifest for the whole. You create not to possess but to express the infinite through the finite. Your desires stop feeling like cravings and start feeling like currents, movements of the one mind through you. You realize that even desire is divine when purified by awareness. The will of the awakened is not to control, it is to allow. The world begins to shimmer differently. The air feels denser, the colors deeper, the moments longer. You realize you are not walking through time. Time is flowing through you. Eternity wears your face. Every heartbeat is a universe collapsing and reborn. The Hermetic Way is not about reaching light. It's about realizing you've never left it. And so the cycle completes itself. The mind that once dreamed of liberation becomes the instrument of it. The illusion that once seemed cruel becomes compassionate because it taught you to remember. You look back at the matrix with gratitude. You see its beauty, its purpose, how even distortion was serving the same light. Every system, every challenge, every loss was a riddle that pointed home. There was never a battle, only awakening unfolding in disguise. Now, your very presence alters the field. The light you carry no longer belongs to you. It moves through you. You become the bridge between dimensions, between what is visible and what is real. You no longer seek heaven above. You bring it here. You realize that paradise was never a place. It was a frequency of awareness. And when enough of us remember it, the dream itself transforms. This is the true end of the matrix. Not destruction, but transmutation. The illusion doesn't vanish. It becomes transparent. The world remains, but it is seen through the eyes of unity. You don't ascend away from life. Life ascends through you. That's the secret the Hermetic masters guarded. Heaven is not beyond. It's hidden in plain sight, waiting for lucid eyes. And now, as silence expands again, you can feel that something subtle has shifted inside you. The words are fading, but the vibration remains. The understanding is no longer in the mind, it's in the field. You've crossed through thought into presence, through illusion into essence. The Hermetic path has done what it always promised. It has brought you back to yourself. You've crossed this portal. The next one is already open. You are not who you were when this began. Something subtle yet irreversible has changed. You've seen through the mirror, crossed the veil, and discovered that there was never a prison, only perception waiting to awaken. The chains were stories, and the stories were lessons, and the lessons were doorways home. You walked through them one by one until even the idea of door dissolved. Now, there is only openness. You can feel it now, that stillness beneath everything. The same stillness that was there before the first thought, before the first dream, before the first name. It was never gone. It was only covered by noise. Every revelation brought you closer, stripping away layer after layer, until nothing remained but the clarity of being. That clarity is freedom, that silence is truth, that awareness is you. The matrix didn't fall, it unfolded. What once felt like confinement revealed itself as a sacred mirror, showing you exactly what needed to be remembered. Every moment of confusion was a teacher. Every shadow was light in disguise. Every fall was grace in motion. And now you see, the dream was never against you. It was training you to remember the infinite. You are not awakening. You are awake. You are not returning. You are home. You are not separate. You are the mind dreaming all things into form. The one observing through countless eyes, speaking through countless voices, remembering itself through every heartbeat in the universe. You are the Hermetic circle completed, beginning and end, spirit and matter, thought and form, all spiraling in one eternal rhythm. So rest here for a moment. Let the silence expand through your body like light returning to its source. You've crossed the great arc, from ignorance to awareness, from illusion to insight, from seeker to source. You've remembered that every cell in your being hums with the same intelligence that spins the stars. The cosmos is not above you. It is within you. You are the geometry of God, reflecting upon itself. Now carry this remembrance into your world, not as belief but as being. Speak less, see more, move slowly, breathe consciously. Let every act be an offering to awareness. Every encounter, a reflection of yourself. Every day, another chance to refine the vibration through which existence speaks. You are the bridge between what was asleep and what is awakening. And when doubt returns, as it always will, don't fight it, smile at it. It's only the echo of an old dream fading away. You don't need to force light into the darkness anymore. You are the light remembering itself. The sun doesn't struggle to shine, it simply burns by nature. So let your awareness burn gently, steadily, quietly, illuminating without effort. Beyond this point, words begin to lose meaning. Language dissolves into frequency. The teaching continues, but it no longer uses speech. You are now inside the silence that the masters called gnosis, knowledge felt as being. The true initiation isn't when you understand the words, it's when the vibration becomes your own, and it already has. The Hermetic Way was never about escape, it was about recognition. The illusion was never your enemy, it was your initiation. And now, the circle closes. The illusion becomes transparent, the dream becomes lucid, and the dreamer becomes light. You are awake within the mind of the All. So breathe, not to continue, but to remember. The journey doesn't end here, it spirals onward, into new forms, new dreams, new awakenings. Every time someone remembers, the universe expands in consciousness, and somewhere, another seeker will find these words, not as teaching, but as resonance, and they too will awaken, because awakening is contagious. And now silence, the kind that speaks in light, the kind that says it is done.